And I tried to explain this to my husband briefly, who he himself is slightly on the spectrum, little ADHD, and he was like, oh my God, there can't be both of us. You can't be diagnosed with that.
Someone might come to me with a list of symptoms and they don't know it's perimenopause, and we don't want to put peri or menopause as this horrible thing. It's a beautiful, natural life transition.
I've worked with some perimenopausal women and I've had hairdryers thrown at me and I've been yelled at. Like, what is going on?
I do have a lot of women coming to see me just saying, I hate the way I'm talking to my kids and my partner.
Yeah.
It's not me. I'm so irritable.
I guess almost not allowed to talk about it. You know, there wasn't that, oh, this is what happened, you know. There wasn't that. It was just like, are you going batshit crazy? Like, what is happening right now?
Hey, I'm Beck, dermal therapist, makeup artist, and host of Your Glow Code, the podcast where we talk all things skin, health, confidence, and living your glowiest life. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like, and leave us a comment below. It helps more than you know. And now for today's episode.
Welcome back to Your Glow Code. Today we're talking with the wonderful Elysia Humphries, naturopath and nutritionist, who uses the best of both worlds, old school herbal medicine and whole food nutrition, as well as the latest in medical research. She works closely with a team of doctors and gynecologists so that you can get the best in holistic medical care. Today we're going to deep dive into menopause and perimenopause. Welcome, Elysia.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining me. So I have questions because this is such a big topic, because I feel like we're exploring this whole change to women as more frequently, I feel, in the world, but I feel like there's still not enough information out there and there's so much misconception and different ideas, and I would love to broaden everybody's horizons on this. So I feel like this is
fantastic.
Gotta be great.
And full disclosure, I'm about to turn 47, so I'm fully in perimenopause myself, so I can talk from 24 years of clinical experience, but also I'm living the experience at the moment. So I think that hopefully my advice is a little bit more down to earth.
Well, that's fantastic. We do love to hear from people who either have experience or experiencing, so that people like myself who know it is on the horizon can not freak out too much.
Yeah.
So let's start with your hormonal changes, your menstrual cycle shifts. It typically changes during perimenopause. And so what are some signs that it is approaching? Because also, whilst my brain does this thing, perimenopause and menopause, can you also explain the difference? Because I believe menopause is a day, whereas perimenopause is the lead up to that day.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah, the word peri just means around. So perimenopause is the time around or before menopause. So perimenopause can start in your 40s or late 30s for some women, most in their early to more like mid 40s, and last for 5 to 10 years. Everyone's different. And so all of the menopausal symptoms, most of the symptoms start to happen in perimenopause. And menopause just means it has been 1 year since you stopped having periods. Right. So officially 365 days later after your last period, you're in menopause.
Right.
So so menopause is just the stop of menstruation. So for quite some time there can be, there's many symptoms, but the first symptoms are often a change in the menstrual cycle or a change in moods. So when you're in your early reproductive years, you have puberty, and it's like the ovaries have their training wheels on, and they take a little while to get into like a monthly rhythm and for your cycle to be predictable for most people. And then thereafter that, unless you've got something like, PCOS or amenorrhea, most women will have a monthly period. It's pretty predictable. They know what they're going to get. Perimenopause, you'll start to notice. So I've had a lot of women they're like, oh, my cycle's always been bang on 28 days. I bleed for this many days. I know what to expect. All of a sudden you might have a period every 24 days, or it might start going erratic. So you might have a 24-day cycle, then a 26-day cycle, then a 28-day cycle. So the time of when it comes and how long your whole cycle is, the amount of days can change. You can have changes in bleeding as well. So a lot of women notice that their cycle might be heavier or more flooded because there's changes in the hormones. We have a lot lower progesterone around this time, and that normally scaffolds out the uterus and makes you bleed less. And you might have higher estrogen, which kind of builds up the lining in the blood more. So yeah, changes in the bleed might be heavier, changes in how regular your cycle is. And also there can be a lot of mood changes. And this is what I like women to feel understood about, is because I feel like a lot of women feel like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like perimenopause is like the second puberty. You know, in the teenage moods.
Yes.
You know. So someone, even my most like sort of relaxed clients who might not have ever had any anxiety or depression or much mood swings or even PMS might start having some more PMS, or like, which is before the period moods, or just different changes in their mood just anytime throughout their cycle, because our hormones change a lot in our 40s, and our hormones don't just talk to our ovaries and our uterus, they are really potent in our brain. So a lot of women are like, what's going on with me? I don't understand my moods. And they might have even been to the doctor and told to even consider a medication for their moods. But it's not that, it's their hormones, you know. And balancing your hormones will help the mood. So look, some women do feel a bit gaslit or a bit crazy if they've got this strong, like not everyone has strong symptoms at all, but if the mood symptoms are pretty strong, that can be pretty debilitating. So understanding that can be part of the hormone changes, the second puberty.
The second puberty, I love that.
I think is quite validating for women. Yes. There's a lot of changes, but they're kind of the biggest ones I think a lot of women might experience.
Yes, definitely. I think it must be, I really love that second puberty. That is like the most simplistic way of putting it, and that overwhelming sense of like, what is happening to me? Definitely. And I think the more that we talk about it and the more people become aware about it, they're not going to be either misdiagnosed or have to go on the wrong medications. They can actually get the correct help, which is brilliant. And also, like you say, feel validated. I think that's the biggest thing, is feeling validated in yourself. Does your body change? Like, obviously a lot of women talk about the fact that their body changes, they gain weight, they can't get rid of it, they suddenly can't drink as much as they used to be able to. If they are a drinker, you know, foods affect them differently as well. Sort of what would some of those things look like?
Yeah, so estrogen is our main sort of reproductive hormone, as well as progesterone. And estrogen changes during perimenopause. There's an amazing researcher in Canada who researches ovulation called Professor Geraldine Pryor, and she has mapped the changes. And so estrogen normally is very, very cyclical, very predictable. In perimenopause, you get much higher spikes of estrogen than you ever used to, and sometimes it's lower, which is why they say it's hard to test for perimenopause. You might have a blood test and your hormones look fine, or on one day, like I've had a client whose estrogen was as high as women's estrogen goes during an IVF cycle, which is crazy amounts of injected, and it was just a normal perimenopause spike. So the hormones go up and down, and so estrogen really helps us be what's called insulin sensitive, which just means maintaining our weight and metabolism in simple terms. So when the estrogen starts to go lower and stay lower, so post-menopause, estrogen is really flat, like super low. It's not really there anymore because we don't need to build our uterus up to make babies, right? We're done. So it's
that
low.
time is gone.
But gone, ovaries have gone off to Fiji. They've done the job. If you know, so when the estrogen is low, we're not as sensitive to insulin, which means we can gain weight. So it's very normal to gain like a few kilos of body fat. I have a family member who has gone through menopause and who is the most athletic, buff body type. And she had a little roll on her belly for the first time after menopause, and like she couldn't be any fitter or do more exercise or eat better. She's phenomenal. That is normal because our fat cells actually produce a type of estrogen that gives us a bit of protection as well. So that little bit of, some women come to me saying, I just can't lose that last 3 kilos, and it's kind of hard too. But we don't want obesity and massive weight gain during menopause or perimenopause, which I guess if you had any insulin issues, say if you might have had PCOS, or if you had gestational diabetes, or if you're known to have any blood sugar problems in your family or type 2 diabetes, you might get a lot more insulin sensitive and gain probably more weight. So that's probably the biggest reason for weight gain, but also stress. Like, we've got to put some emphasis on, in perimenopause and menopause in our 40s and 50s, we're like the sandwich generation. Like, I had a baby at 41.
Wow.
Second baby, so I'm like, I've got a 5-year-old, nearly 6, and you know, aging parents, and it's the peak of my career. I'm busy. There's a lot going on for women at this time. We're juggling all the balls, so stress really impacts our insulin sensitivity and our cortisol levels. If we're high stress, that really impacts our weight. And also, you know, we don't have, if you do have kids you're looking after or a big career or both, you don't have really that much time for yourself in this peak of your life. So weight gain can happen there too, because you're stressed and you're busy and you're not really, you know, doing all the things for yourself you might have done in the past. So that, hopefully that explains that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like stress has so much to answer for, and I also think we just live in a world where constant stress it's like become the norm, and the more stressed you are and the more you have going on, the cooler or the better or the more accomplished you are, when really you're actually going to be a much more functional human if you can reduce your stress levels and your cortisol, because it will allow your whole body on so many levels to function so much better. So definitely.
100%. Yeah. Like, our nervous system underpins everything. Like, you know, even something as common as irritable bowel syndrome, there's this phenomenal research into mindfulness, and there's an app that with gut-based hypnotherapy which can reverse the symptoms in a lot of people compared to even the FODMAP diet. So yes,
that's incredible.
Stress underpins so much of it. And I think the level of stress experience does really impact your perimenopause journey. Same with the pregnancy and feeling depleted afterwards. Like, I often say to my fertility clients, we want to prepare our bodies for this pregnancy journey as if you already had the baby. So cut that day back at work, or get that flexible work arrangement, or start looking after yourself, going to bed earlier, whatever that might be for your nervous system. Whereas it's the same for perimenopause. Yeah, if you're going in really depleted, really exhausted, really burnt out, I do see just clinically women having a bit of a harder time, I would say.
That's really, it must be really hard to see women struggling with it in general.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, someone might come to me with a list of symptoms and they don't know it's perimenopause, and we don't want to put peri or menopause as this horrible thing. It's a beautiful, natural life transition. It's not a disease. No. It's a lovely time that happens to women, and you can view that journey as a blessing to reclaim your power, to look at yourself again, to people a lot of postmenopausal women, they just care less about what other people think.
Yes, they do, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's just like stand in your power, you know. Yep. But it is a bit of a reminder, like your body keeps the score, knocking on the door to be like, hey, if you haven't been looking after yourself, now's the time to set yourself up for that beautiful second phase of your life, post-menopause. But you want to come into it like as strong as you can and prepared, and you'll have an easier time of it.
Which makes it, and I think that's part of the awareness that I think we're trying to build, so that people can be forewarned is forearmed, you know. So if you can have that awareness and understand those things, I feel like you can, instead of feeling like you've just been slapped across the face and being told, oh, you've got perimenopause, and it feels like a heartbreaking thing, it's like, oh, okay, we're going into this next phase. And if you can embrace that, then you can be one of those women that come out on the other side going, this is my second shot, and watch me go for it, kind of a thing, which is awesome. Because I see both, and sort of like my other line of work in film and TV, where I work with a lot of ladies of all ages, and I see both the women that have struggled. I've been on the receiving end of some of those struggling ladies, and it's terrifying as a young one. But you see also the other ladies that they glow in a different way, and it's not just the hot flashes, but they're glowing in another way. And you see them embracing this, like, okay, cool. They don't care as much about other little things in life, and they're like, this is just who I am, and you can like it or lump it, but I'm going to go do my thing, which is really it's quite wonderful to see.
Yeah, traditionally, 100% the rite of passage of menopause is about stepping into your power as a woman. And some of those, I mean, not for me because I had a baby when I was much older, but, often the children are grown up, you have less responsibility, it's time for you. And there's a lot of cultural, like around the world, different culture rites of passage around menopause being all about that and stepping into your wisdom, not being that unsure, don't know yourself. You really kind of know yourself a lot better by this age, and to remind yourself of that, not to get caught up in the hype of this is going to be terrible or it's fabulous, just step into your truth, step into your power. It's a way of, thinking of it like that transition.
Yeah, a beautiful time.
Yeah, positive mindset.
Yeah, completely. And that can make or break it, I suppose. So sort of speaking on that then, I have a friend who I caught up with lunch with her and she's going through the change. And I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? You look incredible. And she had just started on, now I'm going to say HRT, but I believe it has now changed to MHT.
Yes.
But she looked incredible. Now, it may not be for everyone, but if you can explain to us why hormone replacement therapy is now called MHT and why, and then the benefits of this and how people can explore sort of those options.
Yeah, sure. HRT, as it was called when it first came out, was super duper popular, probably in the 80s and 90s. And it was very different to what's available today. And then there was a study which was actually kind of flawed on it increasing the risk of breast cancer. So that was massive, and around the world, everyone got really afraid, and doctors just stopped prescribing it. And people were still on it, but just became a lot less popular, and women were afraid of taking it. And so there was this phase of time where the women who were suffering like the most sometimes weren't offered HRT, as it was, for their terrible symptoms because of that risk. But I presented a seminar with my gynecologist colleague from Vera Wellness, Dr. Peter Wright, who went through all of the research, and it's a very, very, very minimal increase in risk. Yep. So these days, it's probably been rebranded as MHT, menopause hormone therapy, because it probably needed a
rebrand.
Disassociation. Yeah, probably. But it's not the same stuff. Yeah. It's actually so I used to go and send, like, if my clients were just, really dreadful symptoms, most of the time for me, herbal medicine and other lifestyle strategies will get people through. You don't have to all go on MHT or hormone therapy, but it's there if you need it. And I used to send people out for bioidentical hormones, where you had to go to a compounding chemist and they had to hand make it for you in a cream or something that went in your mouth called a troche. And it was very, very expensive. So not everyone could do it. But these days, GPs just prescribe it, and a normal chemist will have it as a gel or a patch, and then with the estrogen, and then you take progesterone in a pill, or it can go as a suppository in the vagina, or you can have a Mirena IUD for the progesterone. You've got to protect your uterus from estrogen building up the lining. So, it's readily available now, and it is what's called bioidentical in the commercial form. Yep. So it's the same hormones your body produces, so there's a lot less side effects than like women who have had issues with the pill. Yep. That's not bioidentical hormones. That's more of a synthetic form of the estrogen and progesterone. Okay. So, it's very helpful for a lot of menopausal symptoms, the MHT. But sometimes, obviously, if a woman's got very bad hot flushes or mental health symptoms, it's often quite life-changing. But for the more early peri symptoms, some women might go to their GP and find it hard to get it prescribed if they're cycling regularly or in peri. But it can still be effective for mood. And many symptoms, like even probably most of my patients this month have had musculoskeletal symptoms and perhaps brain fog. They've still got regular periods, but they're getting injured or quicker, or they've got sore joints like plantar fasciitis, things like that. And estrogen corrects that quite quickly. Okay. Yeah, and brain fog and things. So, Yeah, there is the Australian Menopause Society, I think, has a list of doctors that are sort of trained in hormone therapy and perimenopause. So I do find women either get a great response from their GP or sometimes are told, no, you're fine, you don't need it yet. So sometimes you might have to find a doctor if you do want to try MHT and you're not fully hot flushing at the end towards menopause, who will assist. Yeah, but it's a great option. Yeah, it's not the only option. There's a lot of herbs and things. As there's all sorts of options, but it's good to know. I mean, as a woman, be informed of all your options.
And what would be some of the options then that you can provide within sort of your clinic and with some of your team?
Yeah, well, I see a lot of women on both. Like I've got women that are on MHT, on the hormones, and then they've still got some symptoms that I use, or some women just can't go on it or don't want to. There's amazing herbs. There's so many beautiful herbs that are really estrogenic, and try not to self-prescribe because they might not be the right ones for you. But there's good data on herbs like black cohosh has got excellent studies. It's really good. It's called a SERM, a selective estrogen receptor modulator, and it very much acts like estrogen at the receptor.
Wow.
There's herbs like sisyphus and sage that can reduce hot flushes by like 60 to 70%. They're cooling, calming. They help sleep. There's a beautiful herb called shatavari, which I think in India is translate to giving the woman the strength to deal with 100 husbands. It's a female reproductive.
I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, there it is.
I wouldn't want 100 husbands, quite frankly.
No,
but
I think one's enough for me, thank you.
Or perimenopause is a time where I'm like, wish I was single. No, just joking. I love my husband. But it's a tonic and it really gives you vitality. There's beautiful adrenal herbs. And a lot of the time, some adrenal herbs will fix a lot of stuff to calm, like ashwagandha or withania is having a massive, very popular at the moment, which is hilarious to me because I've used it for 24 years. And it was very fringe. But yeah, there's beautiful herbs like rhodiola, ashwagandha, ginsengs, things like that, which help regulate our cortisol production and boost our energy and stamina. There's beautiful cognition enhancers as well. Things like amino acids, like creatine's got phenomenal impact on muscle and the brain, menopause, and some of our beautiful mushrooms, lion's mane, ginkgo for blood flow, bacopa is a beautiful herb. There's so many options. And food as medicine, there's a lot of research on Japanese women and their diet and how they don't have a lot of menopausal symptoms because of the soy. Soy is... People think soy is, don't do soy, it's bad, this and that. Yeah. Perimenopause and soy are best mates.
Yeah, right.
Soy,
there you go. It got such a bad rap for years, soy. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. No. Okay.
Now's the time. Soy is a phytoestrogen. It's a plant estrogen. So it regulates the estrogen at the receptor and it can be very, very beneficial for symptoms.
That's incredible.
Japanese people have a lot of seafood and seaweed, which is iodine rich, which is phenomenal for hormone receptors. Getting your vitamin D checked as well. Yes. Vitamin D is like good broadband for your hormones. It's like they're just shooting down, chatting to you, having a good chat. If your vitamin D is low, like most people I test, I mean, this is maybe on the Gold Coast a bit different. Mine's higher since I've lived here. But you want your vitamin D up around 80 to 100. Yeah. Most people sit around 40, 50, 60,
That's scary.
Just very simple things can make
the world
your
of
mood
difference.
And your hormones. Yeah. And another thing for women is iron levels too. Yeah. If your iron's low, you're going to have a lot of the symptoms of perimenopause are the same as symptoms of low iron, like brain fog and fatigue, anxiety. So, getting your iron levels checked is so important because you bleed heavier, so you get your iron drops too.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, lots of things, so many things.
So many, and like you say, so many simple little things that I feel like, and that's partly why, I will say it again, the conversation needs to be had because you don't realize that it's just those little things. It's not just a hormone check. It is all these other little basic health things that you can adjust that will affect your journey and make it so much easier, which is what you really want. And so, like you say, so simple. I really love that.
Yeah, it is simple, except when you go maybe to a doctor for a 15-minute consult. Like, I've got so many beautiful GP friends, but, you know, they have this short amount of time to try and help you. You kind of, I do think that's where seeing a naturopath or seeing a really well-versed gynecologist for a long consult is helpful for perimenopausal women, because we'll go through your diet, your lifestyle, your mineral, your vitamin, your hormone levels, sort it all out, rather than you can't do much in a quick 15 minutes, unfortunately.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I'm a dermal therapist, and I even think that any dermal therapist that only has like a 15-minute consultation isn't really going to be able to treat the skin. You need to, and that's not even as deep as something like menopause or your hormone changes, because you can't touch it. It's too superficial. There's not enough time. You need to delve deep into the person's lifestyle and their body and their stress levels and their foods, and you do all those other things. So I completely agree that a 15-minute GP session to go, hey, am I going through perimenopause, ain't going to give you the result you want.
No. So a tip is to book, if you do have a fabulous GP you want to see, book what's called a long consult, which is a half an hour one. So that'll cost you a bit more, but then your GP won't be under the pump. They'll have time to talk to you. Yeah.
Or alternatively, you come and see someone like yourself who has the time and the resources to go, okay, cool, what is actually going on here?
Or see us both. I love working. Get everything checked. You can do all the things.
Absolutely. I think, and it's so lovely to see the integration of both sort of like the natural and the traditional things, because I definitely believe both have a place. I think I personally lean towards more of the natural kind of things in life, but I do believe that there is a time and a place for traditional medicines and things like that to complement each other. And if you can get someone like yourself to work with the GP and have that complement, I think you're going to get the best result.
Absolutely. And as I said, so many of my patients might be on MHT, plus they're seeing me for all of their other things, like, you know, their stress or their pain or their mood. And you just want to feel as awesome as you can.
100%. Yeah.
It's a busy time of our lives. Who's got the time to feel terrible?
No one wants to feel terrible.
No. Just there's so many options out there, which is great. It's a bit overwhelming, I guess, if you're trying to navigate it by yourself. But the good news is there is so many fabulous options we have to us these days. We're very empowered and well informed compared to our grandmas.
Completely.
I suppose, who had so many less options. So
I guess almost not allowed to talk about it. You know, there wasn't that, this is what happens, you know. There wasn't that. It was just like, are you going batshit crazy? Like, what is happening right now? Whereas today, you know.
Absolutely.
Every other person.
Although they probably were a lot less stressed. They didn't have
100%.
smartphones and email, and they probably you know, they probably had a lot less demand. I mean, they probably had a lot of children hanging off them, but life was a bit simpler back then.
I think so. They weren't in the hustle culture. It was, you know, parenting and life was definitely simpler back then.
They weren't recording podcasts. No, just kidding.
No, they weren't recording podcasts. Trying to do this, set up that business, manage the kids, see the clients, do all the things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Make sure your phone's on silent so you don't interrupt the podcast. It's like terrifying.
Close your windows because my neighbour's moaning.
Exactly. You hear the firing sirens outside. Like, oh, here we go. So now I would love to touch on, because obviously there's so many different things that happen, and there can be different diagnoses and things like this. And this is, I guess, you and I have spoken about this because this is something I had seen you write in a comment on a Facebook group about ADHD, autism, and menopause, and how there is been an increase in the diagnosis of these in women in menopause. And I tried to explain this to my husband briefly, who he himself is slightly on the spectrum, little ADHD, and he was like, oh my God, there can't be both of us. You can't be diagnosed with that. He terrified. And I couldn't explain it to him properly, but I was like, oh, he's panicking now, I'm panicking. Can you explain this sort of diagnosis that happens to women in their 40s, if there is a correlation between autism, neurodivergency, ADHD in menopause?
Yeah. So one of the biggest cohorts of women being diagnosed with ADHD is women in their mid 40s. I'm not sure about the stats on autism, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was similar. That's certainly what I'm seeing in my practice, but there are stats on women are often figuring out they have had ADHD all their lives in their 40s. And I think that's partially because, I don't know, on social media there's so much great information. There's so many people with neurodiversity blogging or doing videos or talking about what the symptoms are, and women are identifying with that. A lot of the overt, ADHD kind of picture has always been the young hyperactive boy who's quite uncontrollable or disruptive, but women can have both types of ADHD. There's inattentive or hyperactive types of ADHD, or you can have a bit of both combined. But women present very differently. Often women, because we have our estrogen, where estrogen makes us connected, makes us work really well in groups and well in teams and seek out friendships. So often either a young girl with ADHD might be good in class and be sitting still and listening, or appearing to be listening, but might be daydreaming or not focusing very well, or not maybe reaching her, full potential of learning. So estrogen and progesterone are very, very protective for what's called our executive function. So with ADHD, it is impairments in certain of our executive functions, which are just how we learn, organise our thoughts, organise our lives and our tasks and things. So when we hit our second puberty and we have very high and very low levels of those hormones for the first time, big changes, our brain capacity, our stress, our ability to focus at work, some of those things change for the first time. And whatever you were doing to cope and to get you through being a functional human who's always had ADHD, you didn't suddenly get it, but just those symptoms, whichever parts of your executive function skills that were your, struggle points, become a lot harder during perimenopause, because the estrogen drops and that connectivity in your brain that was keeping that you functioning is not there anymore. And all of a sudden you're just like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Do I have ADHD? And you probably had it, you would have had it your whole life, except what's happening now with your brain is making it harder to cope.
Yeah, right.
And that's why women are seeking out a diagnosis and, being told they've got ADHD. And I've got clients that might have gone on prescription ADHD meds from their doctor, and they're like, oh, far out, all of the anxiety's gone, all of that internal constant busy brain chatter has gone. I can focus. Like, it's life-changing. They feel really different. And I think, firstly, no one really knew the symptoms in women and how they present. It was always, as for ADHD and autism, all of the study was on boys. And
typical.
Look, with medicine in general,
it's men.
Most of the big studies on heart disease, on anything, study men, because men are simple. They have the same daily hormones and the same rhythm. Women were excluded because they're on the pill, or they're pregnant, or they have a menstrual cycle that makes we're harder to study because we have a cyclical. But we need to be studied because we are half the population.
We're half the population. You can't fix us if you don't understand us.
And look, that is changing, but that has been the problem,
Definitely.
know. And something like ADHD or autism might present a bit more obviously in young boys. Girls are traditionally better at what we call masking and, keeping it together, appearing the same as our peers, because we want to fit in. We're conditioned to be the good girl and to be able to work in the team. Work was back in the day in tribal times. Women had to work as a team or you died.
True.
You had to be good at hunting and gathering and helping each other with the kids. So so basically women mask, and that gets harder when you're in perimenopause, and the wheels can fall off, and then these diagnoses are happening to women in their 40s. Mental health for women, like this is not anything to do with autism or ADHD, but women's mental health can often be really struggling in their 40s as well, because perimenopause, but also the level of stress we're under at kids and our peak careers and all of the things.
Yeah.
So it's a big time to, just to really look at yourself and to try and spend some time getting yourself happy and sorted and balanced and doing the things you need for you.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, for those reasons.
I think it's so true. I think mental health in general, which is something that the world is definitely embracing more, it is so important during menopause or peri, because you are changing and like, I hear reports of people wanting to, kill their husbands one day or this or that, and they're up and they're down. And, like I said, I've worked with some perimenopausal women, and I've had hair dryers thrown at me and I've been yelled at, like, what is going on? But they can't control it nonetheless. And then that would have a cycle on them because they don't know what's happening. They know they're acting irrationally, but they can't change it and they don't feel good. So therefore I feel like that could become such a big cycle in your own head, and learning to manage that in itself would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a lot of women coming to see me just saying, I hate the way I'm talking to my kids and my partner.
Yeah.
It's not me. I'm so irritable. And it's just the hormone ups and downs, and the stress. So when you do sort out and support those hormones, that's the first thing people say is, oh, yeah, I just feel calmer. I'm not wanting to kill everyone anymore, and I'm not getting annoyed at everyone anymore. Because no one likes you can see yourself being snappy and irritable. It's not a nice feeling.
No.
I've certainly, I have personally just, always suffered with PMS or more PMDD. And then, I really need to smooth that out for myself in my 40s. It makes a big, big difference when that phase before your period or just being irritable all month, when that's calmer, you just feel yourself again, which is great.
Which would be so nice.
But so many women come to me for that. It's a big concern.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't want to talk to, you don't want to feel like you're being that person, and you don't want to be that person or know that you're talking like that. I think that's a huge thing.
No. But also, I've got to say, sometimes no wonder women are angry, because the mental load is massive and no one's sharing it. So in my family, we're like, okay, these are all the jobs. I think communication's important. I say, I'm actually sick of thinking of everything for everyone. A client of mine, beautiful patient I've known for years, said she feels like she's the invisible concierge for her family who gets no thanks.
God, that's so, that must resonate with women everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Such a great, And I think rather than being angry about it, like, I've communicated that to my family, and I say this to my patients, like on my phone, we've got nights of who cooks what nights, and I'm not going shopping when it's not my night. You go shopping, you think about it. Don't ask me and say, what's for dinner? You get it all and you sort it out. And that takes the load off me. Yeah.
Completely.
I'm trying to I'm getting my kids to do jobs. Like, I'm just trying to get our lives. It's me. Don't get me wrong. It's me initiating it.
I'm still managing it, but
I still am. But it's benefiting. It's really benefiting me.
Exactly. I'm doing some more work, but I'm doing less work by doing more work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite frankly, I'm annoyed I have to sort it out, but it's really helping.
I'm annoyed that you have to. You're annoyed that you actually have to say it out loud. Like, wake up and have a look, guys. It's crazy. I'm not even in menopause, and I don't have any children. But I made a joke, because a little bit similar thing, like, the dinner topic. My husband said one day, why does it cook you dinner and pour a glass of wine, once a month, and you're happy? I was like, it's really, like, it's that simple. Just once a month, make me not think about it. Just have it already. I was like, that would keep me going for 4 weeks. I'd be stoked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not, still, God love him, I'm not really quite sure if it's actually sunk in yet. So this is my reminder to have that conversation, to have that communication as well.
Absolutely. And I find this is very stereotypical, but a lot of men are better with plans and lists.
Yes.
Like, if you just tell them, they might forget. Yeah. So if you're like, we've got a shared calendar on our phones, and it's like, it's your night to cook, it's my night to cook. It's in there and it repeats every week. So
brilliant.
We know what's what. So you can go further in life with tasks and jobs and life admin, and we have a shared email address for our children because the school communication, I need a part-time personal assistant to manage all of
Honestly,
that.
imagine. It's a full-time job in itself.
Yeah, but we created one email which we both see for that. There's just little tips to try and reduce the mental load, because we got onto this because I was saying sometimes it's all right to feel angry because you are doing all the things.
Yeah, completely.
But to feel less angry, you got to sort of make a practical way that you're taking some things off your plate and sharing it around.
Yes, completely. Most of the time you're completely validated in your anger. It's just learning then how to manage that differently at a different phase of your life completely. So and make like you say, work harder to make your own life work less, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Sort of one last topic, I suppose, and that was, again, something that you and I had sort of spoken about when we were trying to organize this, and something that came up was learning to like hack your own body's rhythms and cycles about, like, if you're going out for dinner and drinks or to a festival, and knowing that you don't handle things as well as you used to. You're more tired, or you can't handle the alcohol, but you know that you want to indulge a little bit and things like that. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just think knowing your body, knowing your limits, and even with things like mood or neurodiversity, it's like if you get to the point where you've done too much in a week, or you're overloaded, or there's too many social events, you're overloaded, just knowing what you need and looking ahead. So hacking your life to suit your body or to suit your cycle is about, for me, I get burnt out really easily and overloaded, and I need downtime. So I'll look ahead, and if someone invites me to something and I already have something, and I'll look at the calendar and go, oh, I'm already going out to something pretty big that weekend. I'll just go, no, can we do it the week after? Rather than going out Saturday, even if it's just something small, Saturday and Sunday, I know I wouldn't have had any downtime, and I'll probably be grumpy at the start. So it's looking ahead, planning. Or for your cycle, like I have a lot of women with premenstrual mood issues or pain, endometriosis, pelvic pain. It's like, don't plan all the massive tasks with work. Like, plan them during ovulation, the middle of the month, where your hormones are, they're like, they're peaking and your brain's on fire. And just plan way less, or your boring email clean outs, or your just really easy tasks during that phase. Or I don't do a whole lot during my period because I know I'm a bit more flat. So looking at what's coming up and knowing your cycle, knowing your limits, and also saying no. Like the joy of missing out, and it's okay to say no. A lot of women in menopause say, I learned how to find my voice. I learned how to not be the good girl and the people pleaser. I learned to please myself. So planning your life around what works for you, because you know yourself
that's huge
better, I think is is great as well.
That's like total self-awareness, I think 100% is that. And I mean, I just turned 37, and I feel like, I mean, I've always felt like a little bit more in tune with myself than maybe the average person. It could be my upbringing or just slightly old soul, I'm not really sure, but I definitely feel like even like the last year that I have started to go, don't want to do that. No, you can go do that. You're not going to enjoy me. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to want to go home. I haven't got anything to give anyone. And then for me also, I've only just realized, I've always known about, using your cycle and trying to do things at different times of the month. And I can take on the world. I can do it all. And literally, I think even just this weekend, I'm in full PMS. And on Sunday, I was like, I have a list of things I need to do. And I got to the end of the day and I was like, oh my God, I was just so depressed. I'd overwhelmed myself. And I came out and my husband's looked at me and goes, what's wrong? And I was like, for someone that does a lot, I get nothing done. And he just looked at me and he goes, you were like the hamster in Secret Life of Pets. It's like, I run and I run and I run and I go nowhere. I was like, that's because, and then I burst into tears and I went, I'm about to get my period. And it all made sense. And I was like, why am I trying to do all of these things when I'm just going to run and go nowhere? It's absurd. And just having that self-acceptance and realization to be kind to myself again, knowing all of that. And then going, okay, let's come back down to earth a little bit and just be like, okay, cool. maybe you should just plan things a bit better.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a fabulous TED talk around that called The Power of Your Period by Lucy Peach. And she's written a book as well. And it just talks about, the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, and when your energy's high and when it's low, and how to look after yourself. I think that's a great thing to be tuned into, especially as we go into perimenopause as well, and just realizing where your limits are. And I think, I grew up, I was in high school in the 90s, and we had all of these female empowerment messages everywhere. Girls can do anything in our high school, which was so great. And it's like all about what your career is going to be and this and that. I think, but a lot of us have that. We've been told about just to be so driven. And then if for the women that do also have a family as well as a career, it used to be just stay home and raise your kids, and now we all have jobs and raise kids, or women that don't have kids have hectic jobs and side hustles. We're just doing all the things.
We're doing all the things.
So and it's a lot, and it's great that we can and we have all this choice, but we just seem to have these expectations to always do. Which is exhausting.
Yeah,
so just to realize, like sometimes I say to people, what do you do for fun? Or what do you do in your downtime? And like, well, I look like stumped mullet. And they just like, well, I just do stuff. I'm just busy all the time. I don't actually have any downtime. Like, okay, well, that's going to change.
Yeah.
We need a hobby, or we need to walk on the beach, or we
read
need
a
to
book or
sew
something,
or paint.
swim, anything. Yeah, something for you. Yeah. It's really hard to accept that though. It is. There's something I've really struggled with, and I have to try and make an effort to go, you're tired, or there's just go and do your own thing and not think about everything else. But it's really hard. That the guilt that's in the back of your head all the time for not doing something it's strong. It's really strong.
Yeah, and some people come from families where like stopping and doing nothing was actually frowned upon, so that conditioning might be there, which is very strong. But like that, it really helps perimenopause is to be able to just, take a breath, do some relaxing things for your nervous system, exercise,
all the things. Yeah. So many things.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel like I could pick your brain and I could talk about this for days and days and days. But
me too, favourite topic.
So much knowledge. And it's something like I love learning about it. I mean, we haven't even touched on how it like affects the skin or anything, but that's really neither here nor there, really. There's so many other things. There's so much to learn about it, and it's something that I find really fascinating and very passionate about other people learning about, so that, husbands can support their wives or their girlfriends, and women can support themselves and mothers and all of those things. But sort of before we wrap this up, I suppose, where can people find you? What would be your first sort of steps if somebody starts to realize that they're going through perimenopause, and how to sort of start that navigation of that journey?
I work online, so I see people all over the country, and I ship them herbs and sups and send them diet plans on email and stuff. So it's ElysiaHumphries.com. I guess we could put it in the show notes because my name spelling is rather strange.
Yes, as we learned the hard way.
Yes, I work online, and I also work at Vera Wellness, which is a beautiful clinic in Brisbane, but I work online for them with gynecologists and women's health, yoga physios, doctors. It's a fabulous group collective where I also do sort of IVF and hormone support.
Incredible.
But yeah, the first steps are, if you're noticing cycle changes and it's just changing, but there's no issues, like the cycle's not too heavy, but it's just changing, is just to note it. Keep just a menstrual cycle app or write it in your diary. If your periods are very heavy for the first time because of perimenopause, 100% go and get your iron checked probably every 6 months and just check your iron's not getting low. There's lots of strategies from your doctor or from a naturopath for those heavy periods, which we can go to on another time. And just, if there's mood symptoms or you think you might have ADHD, obviously reach out to your doctor or your naturopath as well. But yeah, I think it's just about being aware. There can be small changes that happen that are fine, but it's more just having a look at your diet, which is a whole nother podcast, your sleep, Are you getting enough sleep, or are you staying up too late watching Netflix?
Yeah, completely.
You know, are you moving your body? A lot of research shows we need to transition to weights to build up our muscle, to preserve our bone strength and our muscle, and not just run and do cardio for menopause. Yeah, so looking at your movement, looking at your diet, looking at your sleep, and looking at time out for you. They're probably the biggest things. And if anything else is huge symptom-wise, that's when you reach out for support. Yeah.
Fabulous. I think there's some great starting tips. And I feel like we didn't even touch on the fact that you need to build muscle and what happens to a woman's body with osteoporosis and the musculoskeletal system. It's a whole, is just probably a whole nother podcast in itself.
We could do part 2.
I think we might have to do part 2.
Yeah.
Diet and bone health.
Yes,
definitely.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for joining me. It has been such a pleasure, and you are just such a wealth of information. And I will absolutely link everything in the show notes so everyone can find you if and when they need.
Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for watching this episode of Your Glow Code. If you found something helpful, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the show grow. Don't forget to subscribe for more chats on skincare, the signs of feeling good in your skin, health and wellness. Leave us a comment. We'd love to know your thoughts and what your favourite moment was, and give us a follow on Instagram. See you in the next one.